We've got to talk about Manchester United because they faced Brentford this weekend. They didn't get off to the best of starts.
And Needham has them in fourth.
Yeah, we'll pick him up on that, don't you worry. Now, one story today from ESPN sources is that Ten Hag has actually been playing up United's squad and their chances against the advice of the club, who reportedly want him to lower expectations given how poor last season was. Wonder what you make of this, Craig.
Well, I think expectations were lowered after last week anyway. I mean, no matter what Erik Ten Hag says, it's a difficult one because, like, it's all talk. It's all talk at the end of the day. And the only thing that matters is what Manchester United do in transfer recruitment and on the field. And if last week was anything to go by, there's obviously a long way to go. Not that that was a big surprise, but just to say that one arrival and one new guy is not going to all of a sudden make them into a bit of magic. But it's unsurprising if this is true from the club, because this is a club hierarchy that have overseen this recruitment policy, and they've allowed these people, for the most part, to stay in charge. And so by doing that, they're pretty much saying, well, we're happy with what you've done, and you've made us some money in the business. You've made some poor choices in the recruitment, and we've spent a lot of money, but we're okay with that. And so behind the scenes, I think they're very happy with mediocrity. They may not say that publicly, but by their actions, they've been happy with what they've put out in the field. And so it's no surprise that he comes in with a much more positive attitude. And behind the scenes, they're saying, no, why don't you just go out and tell people we're actually garbage? And I think from a new manager's perspective, well, let's be honest, if people have got Man United 4th, 5th, 6th, maybe some have got them 7th, I don't know, then for that club, that's with their amount of money, they're standing on the world stage, that's garbage, absolute garbage. And so why wouldn't Erik Ten Hag be a bit more positive and try and get a bit more enjoyment about the place? That's rather worrying for me, that the mindset of some behind the scenes at this football club. But I don't think to most it will come as a huge surprise.
People who may have them finishing 4th or in the top 4 come the end of the season, people like Needham and Neuer.
So my thought when I was putting these top 6 in was, like, some teams were down in Sharpie, but United were very much in a light pencil, so you can just erase it very quickly when things start going wrong. But what I will say with them, like, I hope this report isn't true, because it is ridiculous in my opinion. I think that there are enough players at the club who know how good they are or how bad they are. So if somebody comes in and tries to sort of say you're something else, it's not going to work, because you see it. But when a new manager comes in, the expectation is he's been brought in to try and make you better. So if somebody comes in and they try and dampen your expectations, well, what did they think the players expected after finishing 6th or wherever it was last year? Were they expecting to win the league this next year? Well, probably not. So what would the new manager say? He's got to come in. He's got to gauge what's good about the players, what's bad about the players, and create a strategy that tries to sort of bring out the best in them. So I think it's a funny sort of report, because the last I checked, a manager can say you're good or say you're bad, but ultimately you're either good or you're bad, and you go out there and you show that week in, week out. So I think it did kind of miss the point, in my opinion. And at the end of the day, what's the harm in him saying to the players that they're good? Like, I've had some managers who said to players, you're the best this, you're the best that. Like, one example was Sven-Göran Eriksson saying to Kasper Schmeichel, I think you're a really good goalkeeper. This is when he was at Man City. Kasper believed it, he played, and now he's played 10, 11 years for Leicester. He's won a Premier League, won an FA Cup, and now he's playing in Nice. That sort of thing. Positivity can help you a little bit. So if the report is true and they're upset that somebody's tried to be positive when they've come to the club, when they've hired him, they've headhunted him to come to the football club, I think missing the point would be an understatement. And ultimately for me, like I say, it's what new managers do. Try to be positive.
Can you imagine Erik Ten Hag going to a press conference and going, can you believe somebody's paid 100 million for Jadon Sancho? I can't. Oh, Jesus. I've watched 18 months of Man United, and Marcus Rashford ain't kicked a ball. He ain't kicked a ball. Oh, and I can't wait to get that Jesse Lingard out to Nottingham Forest. I mean, what kind of ridiculous stuff is the amount of nonsense that's come out of this place in the last few years is quite scary. And I don't know. I just worry for them this year. I'm sure Erik Ten Hag will manage to get them moulded into something that's half decent. But their transfer recruitment, and we talked about it yesterday, the way they go about it is mind-bogglingly average.
Yeah, Craig, one thing I'd say is never worry about Man United. Like, they've spent a lot of time not worrying about anybody else. So they've had their success, I'm sure they'll come back at some point. Let's not worry about them. But what I would say, the opposite, by the way, in terms of managers being enthusiastic, was I think it was 2012, and we had Harry Redknapp come in at QPR to replace Mark Hughes. And this was just after he'd been linked with the England job and all this. He had a very big reputation. But when he arrived at the training ground, I've never seen somebody look so miserable in all my days. We'd be training, he's kicking the ground, shaking his head like, oh my God, we were bad. But I thought, well, this wasn't the new manager bounce that I thought was coming. So, I could say that also didn't work. So he pretty much made it clear that he didn't think we were any good. And lo and behold, we got relegated. So, there's no harm in a bit of positivity, because worst comes to worst, maybe you can trick them into thinking that they're actually a great team, great club, and can be very successful.
Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week, subscribe to ESPN+.